The Unlimited Podcast features authentic and thoughtful interviews with kingdom-focused change agents. If you're seeking transformative insights that will impact your world, join Jonathan and JR weekly as they unpack deep insights and upgrades aligned with God's Word. Grab a coffee and get your goggles. It's time to fly.
Hey, Brian.
How are you?
Good.
Hi, Brian. I'm John.
John, how are you?
Good, sir. How about yourself today?
Oh, I am fantastic. Living the dream.
We were just commenting on your looking through your bio, and it's just like, wow, what is driving the bus for Brian, man? Do you sleep? I mean, what?
Not well.
Oh, jeez. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, me neither, Brian. My sleep is very interrupted. Yeah. If I get 6 hours, that's a good night,
John, yeah. I don't know why. It's I could go for a 10-mile ride, work out, stay busy, lay down, like my mind's okay, like there's no worries.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm feeling rested, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's but as the doctor said, if you're not like feeling exhausted or tired or falling asleep at the wheel or all these other things, said there's really not much you could do or worry about.
Right.
And I'm not a napper. I'm not a napper, probably because I'm too lazy to get in and out of bed or off the couch. So
Well, it's a bit of a production for you guys to do any of that conveyance back and forth. I mean, that itself is a workout. I don't have those physical limitations. I mean, I got my own scars and my own story. I was just asking Jonathan how he met you, and he says, "Well, I've never met him. It's an online encounter, and
yeah.
Of course, today, everything is done via, phone and digital meetings and
Not in our generation. And I think I've got some years on you probably, but we didn't grow up that way. We're still of that, where'd you meet them?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't grow up in the social media world, and I never have met Jonathan, but we've had a lot of and you know how it is. You could tell when you resonate with somebody, and we comment on a lot of the same things. We've had numerous conversations. We're kind of the same mindset, and I hate to say this, but the disability community is so fragmented. You either got like the Ben Hunzingers and the Jonathans and the Brian Swifts and the Chads that are out there doing it, or you got the victims. And it is very fragmented, and it's a shame. I advocate so much. I try to bring them together, but the spinal cord world is out of a lot of people, the disabilities out there, it is one of the most, at least I feel, fragmented groups out there, and I just don't get it. And so many people are like, building their community around people with disabilities. I don't. I build it around people. I don't care what color, size, religion, ability you have. I build it around the character of people. I don't want to be around all people with disabilities. That'd annoy the shit out of me. I don't want to build it around certain things that would bug the shit out of me. I mean, I'd be throat punching half those people. I build it around people. I want good people to resonate with, and I, Jonathan and I just resonate.
Yeah, I resonate with you too, Brian. That's the people within the community, the disabled community with spinal cord injuries and quads specifically. Majority of them, like you said, they're living in their circumstances, and they're allowing their circumstances to determine their life. instead of looking outside their circumstances and going after what we're going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edwin Lewis Cole had a phrase that he used that stuck with me a long time ago. He says, successful people use, start where they're at, using what they have, and it brings me to the question that's in my mind here for you, Brian, about. So I don't know the details. I just know that at 17, you had a spinal injury, and you can tell as much of that story as you want to. But do you think were you predisposed to have that mindset of, I'm only limited by the way I think at that age, even, were your parents like those types of encouragers? Did you have that kind of faith? Did you have that kind of a motivated mindset even as a young man before you had this accident, or was that kind of a pivotal turning point for you?
Question, Brian, is this being recorded?
Yeah, I'm recording it. Now listen, we're bass backwards. So, and the reason what I find is that some of the best conversations actually happen before you push record. Because
I get it.
I want the whole Outcast Network venue is about being real, and it's about creating an organic opportunity and response where actually the exchange becomes the energy that brings people in and brings them back, but it also gives them the opportunity to think and to respond in their own mind,
I get it. I did radio for 2.5 years, and people would be like, well, you're going to send me a list of questions. I'm like, no, it's an organic conversation, and it could go in 9 different directions. I don't know where we're going to end up, but I know where we're going to start, and that's okay, because it's going to be great. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's, and thank you for that. And I apologize, we're just getting off the ground with this. And in light of that, it's developmental, but it's also, we're trying to stay true to our core, which is we're relational, and we just really want to have a real exchange. And honestly, the whole Outcast Network platform is about lifting up other people to make sure they know where to find you and to help you,
Yes, stay authentic. Be authentic.
That's the word. Come on, for real.
Don't try to be someone else. Yeah, be yourself.
I struggle being me. I can't imagine trying to be somebody else.
I totally understand that. I'm just saying, and thank you for thinking I'm younger maybe than you. I think here it says something about you. Someone told me I think you're like maybe in your early 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, play some catch up with me then.
I'm
a little older than you think. So.
Wow, you look pretty damn good then, because I mean I know I look damn good for my age, so you look even better.
We could be twins. Yes, sir. No, that's all good, brother. It's funny. I was on one of our collaborating ministries was on last night, and we, like I said, we platform people so that they get to kind of pay attention to what they're supposed to be doing and not have to worry about the logistics of, are people getting they getting registered, are they getting their links for the meeting tonight and reminders and all that kind of stuff. And so we just want to kind of help lift people up, bring the resources in, make sure people are getting well fed, not just on Sundays or Wednesdays or whatever. We're the unchurched church. We don't have a building. We don't have parking lots, and
it's needed. It's needed. We need that more now than ever, for a lot of reasons. Just the direction, and we're the same generation where we've gone to, and I don't want to get into politics, but this is not Democrats versus Republicans, conservatives versus liberals anymore. We're at a point. I'm very convinced that this is evil versus good.
Exactly.
I mean, the conversation, what's being discussed out there is so black and white, right and wrong. The fact that we're having discussions around it is just mind-boggling. And at some point, you know, we got too comfortable, or we got too comfortable and too trusting and whatnot. But let me get back to your question.
Sure, let's go.
So I come from a background where, you know, my parents were, you know, Irish Catholic, brought up in that Catholic tradition. You know, it was a black and white world I grew up in. My mom extremely faithful, my dad faithful, but you know, mom kind of was more that end. You know, dad was the, you know, when he said sit down, you didn't say where, you just kind of grabbed a seat and sat down. I was athletic, I played sports, I was fairly confident, but this is where the twist comes in. I come from a very blue collar background. I'm first generation college. Probably the only reason I went to college was because I broke my neck. I never worked real hard in school, and I went to all parochial school. So I had nuns in grammar school, and I went to an all boys high school that was run by the Christian Brothers of Ireland. And I mean, people today can't imagine the discipline, the physical discipline that was put on you. So I grew up, I wore a shirt and tie from like third grade my whole life, you know, because in high school you had to wear a collared shirt, button down, not a polo, and a tie. Your hair had to be above your collar and not your, I mean, it was discipline back. I mean, people today would not understand that discipline, but it was no big deal because that's just the discipline you grew up in and whatnot. And there was detentions and jugs for misbehavior, and that could be coming in on a Saturday for 5 hours, and you, depending on who was in charge, you hoped you got a coach, and they would let you kind of get off the hook. But that could be anything from sitting and writing the rules of the school for 5 hours. It could be go. This school was immaculate because you get 30 kids on a Saturday or 20 kids who had detention, and they'd hand you bags and be like, go outside and pick up every piece of paper that you found. You know, half those kids would be in the locker rooms washing them down. So they had a little paid, they had a little free help from detentions. And you had to do a lot to really get in a detention. So, or a jug, which, 2-3 jugs led to a detention. And a jug, I just found out, stood for no people. We never, I don't know, I never asked all the years. Justice, JUG was justice under God. So that's what jug stood for.
Wow.
So you could get one for your hair too long, for, knocking another kid's books out of his hands, all the crap you did when you were in high school, chewing gum, and if you got 3 jugs, you got a detention, which means serving on a Saturday. Or some would say, or you could get the paddle. So the paddle was full-blown paddle to the back of the thighs, and you were lucky if you got it, because I would rather and it happened to me twice, I would rather get the paddle than have to bring home a detention and have my mom and dad sign it, because the hell I would have caught at home was way worse than getting the paddle. I mean, bar none. So if they gave you a choice, it was paddle. I mean, very few kids, some kids were, I don't know, they chose the detention, which boggles my mind. I'm like, paddle, and I only got it twice in 4 years. Probably once too many, but I was a bit of a jokey, mouthy, not mouthy to them. You didn't mouth off to the Christian Brothers, or they found ways to instill discipline.
They got creative, is what you're saying.
Oh, if they had a ring on, the ring to the back of your head, I mean, all justified. I mean, it just was. So to answer your question, let's get back to your question. So I had some, I wasn't looking at probably being the man I am today. I was probably going to go into the trades. All my dad's friends were in the trades, great livings, great jobs, very honorable. But then I broke my neck at 17 and I wasn't going to, and in 1979, breaking your neck and becoming a quad made a Stephen King novel look like it was, like a love tale. You know, it made Stephen King look like green eggs and ham. Our lives were just supposed to not exist and be miserable, and because you were a statistic. And truly, it was a book, and you're a C7, C6, you're a whatever, a C4. You're probably not going to be able to do this. The statistics on getting married, having a job, going to school, blah blah blah. Well, don't forget, we didn't even have cell phones.
Right.
But I had a dad and a mom that just would deny that from happening. I mean, my dad, this is the way he was, after getting surgery and then going to a rehab facility, once you get, spend a couple days in, they're really starting to run you down that, well, this is your C5 or C6. This is the path you're going to take. Let's order an electric wheelchair. We're going to get you this. My dad's like, no, he's not getting an electric wheelchair. And at that time, I was just getting a little bit of movement back in my arms. And they're like, well, he's a C5 quadriplegic. Most people, or C6, 5-6, most people get electric wheelchairs. It just makes it easier on them. And he's like, well, we're not here to make it easy on them. He's here to push through this. Now, they never thought walking was never discussed. If it happened kind of. And my mom was, things happen. We don't know why. Just put your faith in God and keep moving forward. And my dad was kind of that now what guy. Well, now what? Okay, you're in a wheelchair. Now what? What are you going to do? So, electric wheelchair never happened.
Those two things that you just said about your mom's disposition and your dad's disposition. Now what? Versus don't really understand, why things happen, but you still trust God and move on. And your dad, that's how I see, like, they dovetail together, because it's like your dad's like, okay, well, now what? It's like, it certainly is not a victim mentality. They did not feed that foolishness to you at all, from what you just said. And it probably saved your bacon.
It definitely did. I could tell you, between that and, I mean, just more stories about my dad, just the way he was. And my mom wasn't a softie, but it was just that good old fact. It was Irish Catholic tough love. I mean, that's what it was. And I'll tell you, pivotal moment. So I got hurt the day after Christmas, 1979. My birthday was at the end of January. Now I'm turning 18. Being in a wheelchair, not being able to feed yourself, barely push yourself, not be able to do all the things you did as a 17-year-old. I'm 2 weeks away from my birthday. So it's like the middle of January. My dad came up to visit me. And I probably was a little salty, thinking that this is not how I planned on turning 18. 18, you had, that was a big date in your life, and, I was driving. I loved old cars. I had a 1950 Oldsmobile that I drove.
Wow.
I
Nice.
loved, I don't know why. My first car was a 1950 Oldsmobile. I loved old cars. So I had that sitting at home, thinking I'll never be able to, get a speeding ticket ever, by revving that bad boy up. And so he came up to visit. This changed my world. Took off his overcoat, hung it up, came over to the table and sat down. And when we talked, I couldn't even tell you what we talked about. No idea. I don't remember. But I'm sure I was salty, probably sarcastically, frustrated. And after about 10 minutes, he stood up, went over and got his coat, came back, put his coat on, and stood next to me and said, if I ever come up here again and you're not smiling, I'm going to turn around and leave. He goes, I'm not coming up here to see you in a bad mood. He said, it is your responsibility to carry this family. If you're smiling, the family will be smiling. He goes, if you're in a good mood, this family will be okay. He goes, it's your responsibility.
Wow.
To make sure that you're smiling, because as you go, the family will go.
Yeah.
He took off his overcoat, sat down, and nothing ever was said again about that.
Good. Yeah, your dad was what you needed. He was a good father. Yeah.
I never felt bad about it. I mean, that night it hit me that, like, my accident didn't happen to me. There is no me in our lives, very little. There's a we. This accident happened to my whole family. This happened to my friends. This happened to my aunts and uncles. This accident, after a while, and man, so it's still odd to say, but it's true. This accident didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Because everything that I've accomplished that's been good and great in my life has happened after I broke my neck. And I have lived and done more things than I would have ever dreamed of back in that time. I've broken every statistic I've done. I do shit that most people on 2 feet don't do. I mean, I've got 3 amazing kids. I've been married 36 years, so, I built my house. I worked in corporate for 25 years. I went on to college. I never thought I was smart. Went to junior college, finished that in 2 years. Then I went on to a 4-year university in my senior year. And I'm first generation college. I never really used my mind, but now I had to. So I went to a small Christian college just by happenstance. It was close to the house, Saint Xavier. And my first semester of my last year, this little nun who I had for a couple classes came up to me, Sister Dennis. I'll never forget her, Sister Dennis O'Grady. And she's like, Brian, what are you doing now? What are you going to do, like, when you graduate? And I was like, sister, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to try to maybe get an internship at the, police department or helping somehow. We're walking down the hall and she's like, you should go to law school. And I'm sure I giggle. I'm sure I laughed, like, no, sister, like, I'm not that guy. I'm just like that. I might as well go to the moon. And she's like, no, I think you're going to go to law school and see me after class today. See me. Well, you didn't say, shit with a mouthful to a nun. You were just like, I will see you after class, Sister Dennis. And I'm like, oh, shit. What is she, this is not me. I don't have the money. I don't have the intelligence. This was not my dream. After school, I went into her office. She's like, now, what do you think? I go, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. She goes, well, you're going to go to law school. She goes, the LSAT law school entrance exam is like whatever in June, July. She goes, so you've got plenty of time, and there's a study course, and you got to take that, and you need to study, and you could come up here and come back here and study. And I think that's what you should do. And I just sat and listened. All right. No, I appreciate it, sister. I'll think about it. And left the office. And about a month later, she catches me in the hall and she's like, come up to my office after you're done today. All right, sister, I will. I'm like, oh, she's going to hit me again with this law school shit. And I went up to her office and roll in, and she walks over to her desk and she brings me over this stack of study books like this. She goes, here's the study material for the LSAT. You need to start to get ready for it. And I'm like I have no idea what to say. All right. and I just started thinking about it. Why not? And I ended up taking the LSAT and going to law school. And 3.5 years later, I graduated from law school. Well, so it was like all these divine interventions that kind of happened to me. And while I was studying for law school at Saint Xavier, I met this young girl who ends up being my wife. And now we're married 36 years. So I just think there was a lot of divine interventions. I've been very faithful. And believe it or not, I have never asked God to make me walk. I've only asked him for one thing, to give me the strength and the wisdom and the ability to deal with life the way he wants me to deal with life. And I believe I've been given that. I believe I've been so blessed by given the strength and the wisdom and the determination to walk the path I've been meant to walk.
I definitely concur, Brian. Yes.
I've been blessed.
You are extremely blessed, sir. Yeah. There's so many things that I want to ask you. So you raised 3 children in a wheelchair, being a father.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How did that come to be? Like with you and your, how did you work that out?
Well, early we both wanted families. She came from an Irish Catholic family of 6 kids. We only had 3 kids, but I was like, I want a big family. She's like, yeah, fine. Can you have, I don't know if I could have kids, being a quad, because the parts don't work right. But I knew that Northwestern, you could go and get tested. So I went and got tested. Basically, it's like jumping a car. And I'm not shitting you. Basically, they electroshock your boys, and it makes you ejaculate to see if you produce sperm. The problem is, it gives you
autonomic dysreflexia.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It gives you autonomic dysreflexia, which you got to sign this paper because it could give you a stroke because your heart rate goes up so high. But you have to sign this paper saying like they're not responsible if you have a stroke or a heart attack because of this procedure. All right, I'm young. I'm pretty good shape. So I do, and the results are I can produce enough sperm to have a kid. So we start to artificially inseminate. Now, the thing with that is insurance doesn't pay for shit. And back then it was like $5,000. Now this is 35 years ago, $5,000 a pop to artificially inseminate, which is a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
So we tried 5 times unsuccessfully. And then we don't know why they didn't find out earlier, but we found out that my wife was born with basically, to keep it simple, half a uterus. So she couldn't get pregnant. And if she did, the chances of carrying the baby were like 7 or 9%. Now what? Right? Now what? I want a family. I want a family. Let's adopt. I don't give a shit. I want a family.
Yeah.
So we start the adoption process. We send out letters to everybody we know. We're posting in the church, posting everywhere, letting everybody know we want to adopt. And our first, we get a call with one of those friends of a friend of a friend whose sister's pregnant, doesn't want to have the baby, blah, blah, blah. And 9 months later, we adopt our first son. We got him when he was 2 days old.
Wow.
And, we named him Spencer Christian. Christian because I just felt like he was a gift from God. All my kids are gifts from God. And then we had him a year and we're like, let's start the process again. Let's put out letters. Bam. A lady who worked downtown Chicago. I think she was in her late 20s, had a high position. She was pregnant. She didn't want to keep the baby. She was having a girl. We followed that pregnancy with her. Our lawyers did. The day she had the baby, we found out the day we go to pick up the baby, she changed her mind. I guess the nurses got to her and made her feel guilty about keeping the baby, about giving away the baby. We had the room all done. We had the room set up. We were in the car on the way to the hospital to pick up our daughter, and our lawyer met us and said, they contacted him and she changed her mind, and my wife absolutely lost it. It was a tough one. I can't imagine. It was like losing a child. I mean, we had talked about names. We had the room, the room already. All right, now what? I got to get the room repainted and everything taken down. She's just a mess. We're not going to let us stop this. I'm not doing it. I've looked into international adoption. The international adoption is almost guaranteed. It's pricey though. It's very expensive. That's fine. I go, let's keep our options open. I'm not going through this again. I am not going to go through losing a baby, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's do international adoption, but let's keep our options open. I want 2 fishing poles in the pond. I got better chances to catch a fish. So we go international and we adopt our daughter. We adopt our daughter from China. She goes over there. I didn't because of the accessibility, and spends 2 weeks, and we come home with our she was about a year old, but you talk about malnourished. They've got millions of kids. They make the process so hard and so expensive, and they've got millions of kids. Now, most all girls, you don't get boys because of the culture. And back in that day, families could only have one child or they'd lose their subsidies. So if they had a girl, they either gave the girl to a church or some type of facility, or they were left to die out in the forest, because men are still the alpha out there. So if men had a girl first, that was like dishonor. So they got rid of the girls if that was their first kid. So we got our daughter, and after that, I like, I want more. So we went to adopt from Korea. And Korea, we started the process of Korea does not let people with disabilities adopt kids, no matter what. That if hearing impaired, blind, anything, you cannot adopt a child, no matter what. So we went and we looked at Guatemala, and we adopted our son from Guatemala. Went over there. He was about 5 months old, and they had a great experience. She spent about 5 days there. And now that's on my family. I've got 3 kids. All gifts from God, and born, as I tell them, born in our hearts. And this was divine, divinity brought us together, and that's way better. The best way you can come together as a family. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. Was it a big challenge? I mean, you said you had your first child for a year, and you're like, let's do it again. Most people are exhausted. They're thinking, what were we thinking? And
Yeah. We were really blessed to have a lot of support from our moms. Both moms would come over, and my wife was a school teacher, so that was kind of nice. So the summer she had off, she had all the vacation times off, but during the week when she worked still when it was they were babies for a while, and then she just, for about 8 years while they were young, she subbed. So my mom would say, I could watch your kids on Tuesday and maybe Thursday, and Monica's mom could watch her, say, on a Wednesday. So she would offer to sub like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if, that way our kids were taken care of, better than we probably could do, because they were already moms and been there, done that. So we did that for about 8 years. So she just subbed. and when our moms could watch the kids. So that worked out. We were really blessed with a lot of support.
Yeah, that's a big deal to have that kind of love come from your family, that support. Just huge, huge, huge.
That is really huge. Well, me and Stephanie wish we had that.
And Jonathan, it sucks that so many families, this breaks them, or they see it as a burden. Man, just what you and Stephanie have, if your families aren't a part of it, it's their loss.
Yeah.
It truly is their loss. And I say that because I've got two sisters. One of them has been very close, the other hasn't, which is boggling considering the way we were brought up. And I live on real simple principles: faith, family, friends, and fortitude. Man, in that order. And that's how I keep the noise of life away. If it doesn't affect my faith, family, or friends, it's noise. My fortitude will shut out the noise as much as it can.
Yeah, I gotta clarify something. So my parents support me, but they live in Southern California.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's a little hard logistically wise just to come over and hey, we'll watch the kids, no big deal, you know.
yeah.
And then Stephanie's mom, she takes care of her husband that has COPD. So it's like they're tied. They want to support, but it just doesn't, not on a regular basis. Yeah.
And that's hard because I could have went away to school, college, and I chose not to because of the support I had at home. And not everybody has that. I get that. I've been blessed, but we were brought up kind of in that like family first. I mean, there was, and now what you saw where I came from, there's kids who live in like third generation in the same house that their grandparents did in the same neighborhood. Families, it just was tight. Like I've always lived probably 15 minutes from my family. So have all my sisters. We just like, that's important to us. More important than a job. More like you can get a job, and there were times I had to drive, an hour and 10 minutes to my job when I changed offices or something. But it's just it makes life easier. And if you think about this from long ago, John, and maybe you've seen this, families lived in apartments. Grandparents on one floor, grandparents might have been on the middle floor. Parents here, you might have one of the kids on the top floor. My grandma and aunt lived 2 houses away from us. Now, my grand's, her husband was passed. My aunt never got married. They lived 2 houses from us for most of our lives. Wow. My grandfather lived probably a mile away. I remember rolling over there, getting like some White Castles, and then rolling over there, and he'd open the window in his apartment, and I'd hand him the White Castles, and we'd sit and talk. It just was a big part of our lives because he was pretty immobile at that time. But it's missing, and the importance of that. And you may be missing it, but bring it up. Make that a priority in your family.
Yeah, I welcome support, and me and Stephanie have actually adopted a family, and they're our great our godparents for Josiah, and they're in his life all the time. They go to his birthdays, they celebrate special occasions with us, and
that's what you need. It doesn't always have to be blood.
Yeah.
What do they say? Family. So friends are the family you get to pick. And, I grew up an only child, and I didn't have all the sibling support. And unfortunately, I didn't have the maternal support either. Both my parents were not really equipped with that. There wasn't that relational piece, which was interesting because my last name's Cordero. Obviously, I'm not Portuguese, but it's my adopted name. I had my natural mom, but she remarried. That if, because she got married under the Catholicism, had the annulment, literally had to give me up to the state so that she could adopt me. Go figure, it's like, in the world crazy. But long and short of that story is that I didn't have grandparents. I didn't have, the connections like you're talking about. But I do value what you're speaking to today. And I think there's a shift that's happening. And, our nation there's been a lot of disconnect. And I think there's a renaissance that's taking place, that we're going to see families coming back together again. Unfortunately, it's coming under, out of, oppression financially and people having to make different choices. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. It means it's I think it's in the heart of God anyways for us that we, when we get on the other side of this life, we're going to find out we're all one big family, and we're going to be passing, White Castles back and forth to one another, That picture was just, I'm thinking, that's just beautiful. It's a beautiful picture of just a precious exchange and just being connected.
Yeah, I ride up, I'd have a bag of White Castles on my lap. He was about a mile away. He lived in the first floor unit. And there was only about 6 feet of grass between the sidewalk. And I'd roll up and I would tell my mom to, or dad, call Gramps, tell him I'll be up there in about 15, 20 minutes. And just to be looking out. And I roll up and I knock on the window, lean over, knock on the window. And he'd open the window and I'm like, I basically drop the hamburgers, in the bag right by the window. And he'd reach out and we talk for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's
just precious. And, faith first, family second, friends, and then fortitude, and that's part of that fortitude comes from knowing who you are, because you have to have a belief system. You have to, the mechanisms have to come in line with what you believe, right?
Well, values, you got to have values first, right?
Well, you did. You got the top three, right? You got faith, family.
No, but that comes from somewhere. I didn't have those. I saw that in what my parents did and said.
Yes, they were the example.
I heard the word at church.
Yeah.
So I like those weren't my great ideas. It was something that I learned. I didn't, something that I was brought up with.
Yeah.
So, you got to have values to create those non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables in your life?
Yeah.
What are you willing to not negotiate with anything else in your life?
Yeah.
I'm not giving away my faith to meatheads, to politics, to anything else. That is non-negotiable.
Yeah, I agree.
Period. It's non-negotiable. His word means more than anything any man could ever write in terms of a law or the way we need to run our lives. It is what it is. That's why it's amazing where the conversations out there about, transgender men and girls bathrooms. Like, this is non-negotiable. I don't get it. Like, I don't get how we got to a point where we're even discussing it.
Yeah. I remember
we are.
Yeah. I went away to private school, and that was to keep me from getting killed by my adopted father. And I appreciate when you were talking about the discipline. It wasn't a Catholic school, but there wasn't a mention of faith there per se. But I think some of those people went to Catholic schools because some of the things we're talking about, losing that time. And I remember having to dig out stumps, with a
Heck
mattock,
yeah.
and having to be out there on Saturday morning from, 7 to 11, and it's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and it was not fun. And I'm not sure I learned the lesson very well, but looking back, interestingly enough, even looking back, it's like, well, what if this was really about, it wasn't about forcing me to do something. It's like the invitation there. I wish the conversation went along something like, hey, you need to deal with the roots of the things that are dead in your life.
They could have integrated more learning with the detention or the Saturday.
Yeah. The relationship wasn't there. Like when you were talking about your dad coming in and telling you, taking his coat off, sitting down, talking, and then him basically going, okay, that's enough. I'm going to get my coat and I'm going to let him know why I'm getting up and telling him what he set the value system for you, right? It's like, look, you got to understand, you said it so well. It's not about me. It's about we. What happened to you happened to everybody in that circumstance. And it's like, this is true whether someone, breaks their neck and ends up a quad, or whether they end up breaking.
They got a drinking, right? They got a drinking problem. Whatever it is,
exactly.
It affects more than when he drops the, as you go, the family goes. Like it was like, and if to know my dad, I knew if he saw me not smiling, that dude would have turned around and left. I mean, he was a man who he doesn't. Funny guy. You couldn't stay mad at my dad, no matter how tough he was on you. But like this, when if he said black was white, black was white. I mean, just the way it was. And you know what? I didn't even, we didn't grow up in that generation. I didn't, of them telling them they loved you and you were special. I know my parents loved me and cared. My dad didn't show, not in the ways you see it now, but I knew it. And I was okay with that. Now, there's a big push against our generation of, having to be a man and man up. I'm sorry. We need more men like my dad out there. We need more men to man up, especially young men, to man up and be dangerous dangerous in a good way.
Yes, I agree.
Dangerous in a good way. Danger, a man that you feared. I feared my dad, not in a way that it was a respectful fear.
Yes.
A very respectful fear. He never beat me. I never got beat. I mean, did I get, couple foots to ass? Hell yeah. But did I deserve it? I'm sure I did, and whatnot. And even, I mean, this generation will never, these young generations will never know the fear of having to hold a flashlight for your dad over a car and, just catch the shit of hold it steady. No, not there, meathead. What do you, just shit like that just.
Oh, man.
The good stuff.
Absolutely.
When you were talking about values and the word, going to church, hearing the word, it's about one of the things I did full-time ministry for nearly 2 decades for guys coming out of prison. And my perspective was I needed to take them from prison culture into kingdom culture. And what does that look like? It's like, you can come in with all your certificates, you can come in with all your head knowledge and all your Bible study attaboys, and it's like, show me what you know, because if you can't apply it, then you haven't really accepted responsibility. You really haven't entered into a how do I want to say, meaningful relationship with God.
Any relationship. Yeah. I mean, you're not ready for that if you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, just And I mean, the other story I tell about my dad, and there's other ones, but it was that summer, the first summer I was out of rehab and home for good. And as quads, and Jonathan will talk, he knows this, we don't deal with the heat well because we don't sweat.
That's
So
right.
it was a hot as hell summer, and I must have come in from the outside, and I was in the kitchen. I remember it with my mom. I had the refrigerator open, and I must have been saying something sarcastic, which is my love language partially. Ask my wife and kids. My kid, I've got a doctorate degree in sarcasm. But my dad walked in the front door, and he usually came in the back door or side door. But he walked in the front door. I didn't hear him, and I must have been saying something sarcastic to my mom, which I would say only a certain level that I knew she would appreciate, like, push it to a certain level. Now I'm probably 20 years old at this time, or 19 or 20. And my dad walked in the front door, and I think he only heard part of the conversation. So he walks into the kitchen, and he sets his briefcase, doesn't say anything, sets his briefcase down on the counter. And he turns to me and goes, if you're looking for sympathy, you could find it in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. Picks up his briefcase, walks into the other room, sits down, turns on the TV, and that's it. Like, there was no, I mean, he thought I was whining and looking for sympathy. I don't know what he heard or how he interpreted it, but that was the love language of my dad. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, there was no guessing what he was saying.
No. Oh, no. No, you never had to interpret. Like, oh, no.
And yet it was creative. I appreciate that.
It was. And
colorful language.
Yes. And my parents didn't swear much. Like, I didn't hear my dad use the F-bomb until probably I was 25. They just didn't swear. Like, it wasn't, you don't want your kids to swear, don't swear around them. Real simple. Right. They didn't swear. I mean, maybe, damn, SOB occasionally, but they just weren't big people that swore, especially my mom. Neither was my dad. So, we just didn't hear that. So there was no swearing. I mean, it just, not in the house, there wasn't. I don't think my dad heard me use that F-bomb until I was probably in my 30s. And I felt bad for slipping in front of them.
Yeah.
Just because of, you just didn't talk that way in front of your parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I remember the headmaster at the school I was going to, and he was having a meltdown. And I was a young kid. I didn't know jack. And, but I'll never forget him being so passionately twisted off, talking about the apathy that our generation had, and talking about how parents had apathy. And I'm thinking, you're the one with the private school with all of these rich kids who the parents can't control, and so they send them to you. It's like, you better do more than yell and scream and, oh, he was famous for throwing his tennis racket during his tennis game. And my roommate was brilliant enough to think about, on the gift exchange, which he pulled the headmaster's name for that Christmas, and he got him a can, and he changed the name on the tennis balls to edible tennis balls. Just, it's like, put this in your mouth.
Yeah.
You don't need to be going on. But the point being that this started way back when. I'm closer to 70 than I am to 60. So back in the day. So this is back in 73, 74, and so stop and think about what's going on back then. It was a different world, way different.
Oh my God.
50 plus years ago.
So outside the city of Chicago and in the city, you have a lot of Catholic high schools. So you have Catholic high school, all boys high school, and most of them are right next door to an all Catholic girl high school. And you define yourself by what parish you went to. So when you grew up on the South Side, which I did, when you met people out somewhere, it was, what parish you're from. I'm from St. Denis. I'm from St. Bede's. I'm from St. Albert's. I'm from St. Linus. That was the grammar schools.
Wow.
And then when you got into high school, it's a big Catholic league out here. So it was, you went to St. Rita, you're a Rita guy, you're a Lawrence guy, you're a Mount Carmel guy. You're from Quigley. It was all Catholic league schools, St. Leo's, so that's how you define yourself through high school, even to a point where, wearing, which you don't see anymore, a Letterman's jacket, wearing a jacket from the high school was an honor. And it was, the rules at our school was, like, if you were caught off of property doing something that was against rules, if you had that jacket on, you could still get in trouble. So if you left the school or were walking home and you lit a cigarette and you had that jacket on, if a priest caught you, you could still be written up. I mean, that's how much it was pride in that. Like, if you wore that jacket, you better be walking those rules in that way of a St. Lawrence man.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it just was, and there was pride in that. I mean, when you went to parties, and you looked around, if shit hit the fan, you were looking for Catholic League guys, no matter what, because we all had each other's back. We were all from the same, you put on a helmet, I'm going to take your head off. But when we're done, I'll go have a beer with you. I'll even hold the glass because you'll be sipping it from a straw because I hit you so hard. I mean, that's just the way it was. I mean, I wanted to kill you on the field, but off the field, like, we were all brothers. We were all,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we, to kind of boil it down, I mean, that's not even just a Catholic thing or the Catholic club.
No,
or
it's not.
Club at school. It's like, I think we kind of have to, pull the curtain back and help people understand we're in this together. You said it so well. Not a me thing, it's a we thing.
Yes.
It's not just a matter of, direct family. Indirectly, how are people impacted by the things that we choose to do? And golly, I had to let a guy go yesterday that was working for me, and a big part of that was that it was all about him, and I can't work with people that can't be accountable and can't learn, because if you're not present for the process, then it's my problem. And we need to, it's like, there's nothing wrong with not knowing something. There's nothing wrong with not being able to do something. We can learn from each other. We can all get ahead faster if we come together,
So I work from a very servant leadership mindset. I coach and I mentor, and, I do a lot of speaking. And, when I'm speaking, I talk a lot about leadership.
Yeah.
And I'm very much of the servant leadership mindset. And I believe there is so much out there. There's enough for everybody to win. We can all win. The pie's big enough. Now, there are people out there that want more pie than they need. And yes, we sometimes have to fight that battle. But you know what? That's okay. You can't control that. Control what you can control. There's enough for all of us. I want us all to win. I don't need to be a millionaire to be successful and to be happy. I'm never going to be a millionaire. Probably. I don't know. Maybe. I'll work towards it, because the more I have, the more I can give. So I'm going to keep asking for more, because the more I have, the more I'm going to give. So I'm going to keep asking for more and more and more, because the more I get to give. And the more I give, the more I get. So if everybody has that mindset, we're all getting more, we're all giving more. We all win.
So true.
Man,
So true.
I love that mindset, Brian. That's how I view life now too. Is the more I get, the more I can give away, and I can see bless someone else and see their smile on their face, and you do that very well, sir.
Thank you. Well, I have one of my mentors or coaches is, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, David Meltzer. If you haven't, follow him and check him out. Because one of the things he taught me was to ask. People are afraid to ask. And he said, every day you should be asking for something. Every day should be asking somebody for something. And if think about this, Jonathan, you do a lot of good things for people. How does it make you feel?
Amazing. I love doing, helping someone. I love it.
John, how does it make you feel?
Oh yeah, it's my lifeblood, brother. It really is.
Okay. So when people come to you and ask you for something, and you step up and like that is in a sense, that's selfish because we feel good, probably better than they may even feel. So if you take that scenario and you apply it to, if I do not ask somebody every day for something, I am denying them the ability to feel good about themselves.
Interesting. Good.
Think about it. If I'm not asking somebody for something, I'm not giving them the chance to feel good about helping somebody.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm in a wheelchair I need the help. Sometimes it's just because I'm a meathead, or I don't understand technology, or I don't get it. I'm okay with being a meathead. I'm okay with not being the sharpest guy. I'm never going to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm okay with that. I don't mind that. I'm at every day, whether it's through email, in person, social media, I ask somebody for something. And I don't mean, ask my kid to run in the house, get me something to drink, or to, pick something off the floor. I mean, I ask, I'm going to ask you guys, help me spread the word about my podcast. It's new. I ask one of my values is every day ask somebody for something.
It's so good. I have, it's interesting because I have trouble asking for
we
help.
all do. We're men, right? We're men. We have a little bit of this, right? It's like going to the doctor. No, I'll be okay. I know it's growing on the side of my neck, but I'm sure it'll go away. I'm not going to the doctor, right? It'll be fine. I'll wear a big sweater with a hoodie. We are a bit of meatheads.
That's funny. Yeah, because I will ask for other people. It's like I don't have a problem. I mean, look at me. I'm building an organization. I'm building a platform to lift other people up. But I wouldn't ask. It's hard for me, and I don't know if that's pride or if that's fear of rejection, or if that's
ego.
How does ego fit into that?
We're men. We're men, and we have this ego that's natural in us that we should be the ones that people come to, and we should have the answers, and we've got to be the rock, and we've got to be and we've got this ego that if I'm asking for something, it means I don't know, I'm not sure, and that's not being a rock. Yeah. Not intention. It's just I think it's built in us that like as men we should, and then put yourself in a wheelchair, and it's even like sometimes you just hate to ask, but it's our egos. Trust me, it is our egos. That is a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. Every dude has an ego somewhere in them about certain things.
Yeah.
Brian.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
All right. So, after I got hurt, Brian, I mean, I was, a squad leader in the U.S. Army. I led troops. And one day I was running with my, one morning I was running with my platoon doing, lots and lots of different exercises. And then by that evening, I was paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, to ask someone to do something, I'm like, I was not used to that. That muscle inside of me was very, very weak because it was painful to ask anybody.
It was almost shame.
Yeah.
It was almost the shame that you had asked because that was not the position we've built ourselves in as men.
Right.
And you being serving, and thank you for your service, it was being a leader. But leaders have to ask. I mean, if you're not up every day asking God and thanking him, I thank God whether I had a good day or a bad day. I mean, I thank him and continue to ask for, the favor of his grace and forgiveness and love, not just for me, but for the people who need it even more than me. Every day I ask him. Every day, thank him.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, I don't, same thing with people for things. For the two of yous, I'm showing my south side, the Bodia, to the Bodia. If there's any way I can, oh boy, it comes out. All that education at the Bodia. So to the both of you gentlemen, if there's any way I can serve and help you move your ministry or your whatever you're doing forward, man, don't hesitate to reach out. In any way, whatever I could do, please. I love what you're doing, and I even don't know a ton of what you're doing, but I know it's in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of that. I mean,
You are now.
Yes, you are.
You are now. I want to talk a little bit more about your Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation SOAR, your 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission of empowering people with disabilities to reconnect with the outdoors and break through perceived limitations. Give us the lowdown on that, man. That's been around for a minute.
Yeah, so we're finishing up our 11th year. So I have been blessed. I grew up I love being outdoors. Hunting, fishing, in the woods, camping, whatever it was. When you get hurt, you gave a little bit of that up. Jonathan, I think about you and how active you were and all the physical stuff you had to give up, that was just became a part of your DNA.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you feel this way, Jonathan. I think you do. When I'm outdoors, it's not just a mental thing. It is proven medically that certain chemicals get released in your body, like serotonin and all these good chemicals or whatever the good ones are. And when I'm outdoors, I just always feel better. I feel great being outdoors. I love being outside. I love doing stuff. So I've been blessed to get back out and go skeet shooting with my dad. I mean, I grew up skeet shooting. I went back out and I was able to skeet shoot with my dad and my son. I coached 22 years of high school and grammar school football and basketball. I fished. I've been boar hunting. I've been deer hunting. I've been duck hunting. I've been goose hunting. I love being outdoors. I go for my rides. Jonathan's probably seen a lot of my rides. I exercise outdoors as much as I can. I do marathons. The year before COVID, I did a sprint triathlon with my kids. My son rode the bike for 13 miles. My daughter did the 3-mile run, and I did the half-mile swim. And I love competing. I can't stop competing. Well, I played wheelchair sports. I like competing, against me. So I do this thing. People think it's called self-imposed discomfort. So years ago, and even now, I'll do it, not as much. I knew I could ride like 4 miles in my wheelchair, pushing. So I've been in a manual wheelchair pushing for 45 years. The wheelchair community is all worried about I'm going to hurt my shoulders. I need to be in an electric wheelchair. Really, man, I don't want to fade away. I'm going to go out in flames. I'm not going out pushing a joystick. Now, some have to. Don't get me wrong. And if you live out where there's not a lot of places to travel, you really do need. There is a need in a lot of circumstance, and I understand that. But if I know I could go, say 4 miles, say 5, if I push it 5 miles, push it in my wheelchair before I get like really exhausted. So what I would do is, so that's 2.5 miles one way, right? Turn around, come in. So the way I got to that is, when I got up to say 4 miles, I knew I could go 2 miles out, and I knew my routes or how many laps on the track, whatever that was. So what I would start doing is going 3 miles one way.
Oh,
I knew I had to turn around and come home, and I knew nobody was going to pick my ass up. There's no way I was calling my mom or dad back in the day, especially my dad. We didn't have cell phones back when I was younger, so we didn't have cell phones. There were nobody to call. So I would push 3 miles one way, knowing that I had to go 3 miles back the other way. And I would purposely put myself in that discomfort zone. As my dad said, builds character.
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's no growth in the comfort zone. Nothing's going to change. You go backwards as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. You become, so I started coaching at my old grammar school when I was probably about 20, coaching 5th and 6th graders in football. Something I always wanted to do. My high school was about a block away, and you could see their high school practice field from our grammar school practice field. And the coaches would come over occasionally, talk to the 8th graders, to recruit, to get the 8th graders. So eventually I moved up and I was coaching 7th and 8th grade. And a coach came over that I knew that was there when I was at the school. And I was like, do you guys ever need any help over there? Man, I would love to coach at my old high school. It's like, you know what? Let me check. He goes, I think Coach Pallardy might need some help. All right. And he comes back about a week later. He said, Pallardy said, come over and talk to him. I went over there, and next year I'm coaching in high school. So I coached, what an honor and a privilege and an education to coach at the high school level in the Catholic League. You're the high school you went to. Wow, that was a dream come true.
Yeah. I'm sure that had influence and impact too on those young people, that here you are, because your incident happened when you were at that high school.
Yeah.
And what kind of courage that must have taken, to what I say walk.
Well, I wasn't playing for the team or at the school. It was at a park over Christmas break. So the school, I'm glad it didn't happen the other way at school or at a game. Mm-hmm. It happened there, and it is what it is. But school, very accommodating. I graduated on time. Very, very, very accommodating. But to go back there then, coach, and you talk about, so that being said, I'm still friends with these kids that are now in their 40s. I've been in 2 weddings. One of them is a best man. I'm still friends with a lot of the young men I coached. One of them, his name is Marty Moran. And Marty was that sophomore kid they wanted to play on varsity. So he was a man child. Marty was 6'2", built, looked like he'd been working out, but really never did to any degree. He was our middle linebacker and our running back, but he had a lazy ass streak in him. Hated practice, hated running. And it was a hell hot day. I think we were in the middle of double sessions, and he was probably about 20 yards away. Coach, talking to a coach, man, this is crazy. It's hot. When are you going to give us, he was a bit of wasn't a whiner, but he had his moments. So the coach, and I was within earshot, and I was coaching receivers. Now here's a guy that can't throw the ball and barely catch the ball, and I'm teaching kids how to run routes and catch a ball. So that was a great experience, and I became very good at it because I had to be an amazing teacher through language because I couldn't show them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I had to know, you plant your right foot. When you're planting your right foot, I want that head to make this motion so the D-back thinks that you're planning to go this way. And if you freeze them for a second, that gives you the opportunity then to make that cut, and you're not so I had to become very good at understanding all the whys and the little intricacies. So Marty's whining to this coach, and the coach said, Marty, that's fine. If you don't want to run and do all these hard drills, I have no problem. You just go over there and tell Coach Swift you're tired of running.
In the heat. mind you,
Yes,
in the heat.
in the heat.
Yeah.
So,
Meanwhile, you're not sweating. You're just enduring that heat.
I'm pouring water. I'm emptying my leg bag because I'm pissing, so much. So Marty took about 5 steps towards. Now I could see him peripherally. Now, sarcasm was a great part of my coaching, and Marty was one of those kids I give shots to occasionally. Smart ass, sarcastic comments. Marty took about 5. I think Marty at first was like, "All right, cool. I'm going to go tell Coach Swift that I'm tired of running, and I'm going to take a break." Marty took about 5 steps and looked at me, turned around and started running. He was like, Marty knew he had no way in hell was he coming over to me and telling me that he's tired of the heat and can't run in the heat. So I just love that story. All of a sudden, Marty's running and catching up, and I'm like, that was awesome. I'm like, say, Coach, that was the best move. Sure, you don't have to run. Just go tell Coach Swift that you're tired and you want to quit running.
Brilliant.
That's awesome.
We call that constructive sabotage where I come from.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Marty was probably thinking, I could do it and get away with it, but it's going to be hell the rest of the year from Coach Swift. I don't think I want that. That's probably not the best way to go.
Yeah, I'll sweat a little more. So what are you doing with SOAR? Tell me about the next.
So SOAR, yeah. So I got off. Sorry about that. So loving the outdoors, one of the things that happens to people with disabilities, quads, pairs, we lose our ability to go outdoors, not because of necessarily desire, but some of it's that. But sometimes we need special equipment. Medical insurance doesn't pay for jack shit, because if it's not a medical necessity, you don't need it. So this is how ridiculous medical insurance is. They'll buy you a cushion once every 5 years. If your cushion breaks, you could try to fix it. And yes, I've patched mine. But if not, they won't buy you a cushion. I know people that have needed a new cushion, end up not sitting on the right cushion. And the cushion's about $500 for a good one, like a Roho.
Wow.
They don't have $500 to buy a new cushion.
No.
So they'll get a bed sore, and now the insurance is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on wound care. It's just so ass backwards. So I wanted to help people get outdoors because I felt that was so key to my mental health, my spiritual health, and my emotional health.
Mm.
So I want to get people back outdoors, whether that meant buying you an electronic fishing reel and a cuff that you could wear it on your arm and go fishing. If you wanted a bike, buying you a therapeutic trike or a hand cycle. If you wanted to, this past year, we bought 3 basketball wheelchairs for a community that was starting a wheelchair basketball
Brian,
team.
tell John how expensive this equipment is.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. So a hand cycle, which is just like a bike that's cut down to the ground, and the pedals, they just move. It's almost like those recumbent bikes. They charge anywhere from $7,000 to $16,000 for one.
Oh, stop.
Seriously. Yep.
I've got a lightweight wheelchair. Now it's just a wheelchair, but it's lightweight. I know what they charged the insurance was $13,000 for the wheelchair I'm sitting in. Now, there's no way in God's green earth, if you gave me a pole bender and the materials, I probably could come darn close. That's what Mike Box does, right? I mean, Box wheelchairs.
Box wheelchairs, yeah.
Box wheelchair. This dude, older gentleman that makes crazy custom wheelchairs. And I know what it costs him because we've collaborated and I bought wheelchairs from him for people. He can make a darn good wheelchair for under $5,000. I mean, custom, not $13,000. So equipment, a cushion to sit on, $500 plus. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just so expensive. Therapeutic trike could be $4,000 for a little kid. A little basically tricycle that they add pedals to up top. So it's got 2 sets of pedals, one for the feet, one for the hands, because they don't have enough strength in just their legs. So they strap their legs on, and they're custom. They for their size. which is good. That way they don't end up with problems. But the equipment is so even something like a crossbow. I bought a lot of people crossbows, and a decent crossbow is probably, you could get a crossbow, yes, for $500. But now you need one with a crank, because there's no way you could pull it back. Even a teen boy struggles if you bring your kids with you or somebody. So you buy one with the crank, you're at $1,000, $1,500 plus. They don't have that kind of money for a hobby. Some people struggle just to buy a pair of $20 gloves to put on their hands to push their wheelchairs.
But
so we started.
People in wheelchairs are like, they're on Social Security disability, and so they only make $1,200 and something a month. You can't afford that,
No. So I was like, you know what? After 25 years of corporate, I walked away from it, and for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason was my health. The second one is they were moving me to another office that was going to be a hell drive. So they offered me this position that was lateral. They said it wasn't an option. I said, I'm going to take my 2 weeks vacation over Christmas, and I will let them know my answer over Christmas. I went in, I packed up my office, and left corporate. There were 5 things I wanted to do. 1, get my health back, and I did that. 2, spend more time with my parents and family. Every year after that, till my parents got too old, I took them on a vacation. Every year I went on one vacation with my parents. Might have been just 4 days somewhere, sometimes a week, but I went on a vacation with my parents. That was important for me to do. And my wife's parents, her mother. The other thing I wanted to do, I wanted to become even though I had coached and spoke in corporate for years, I wanted to become a certified coach. Back then, that had so much meaning. Anymore, it probably doesn't. But so I don't know if you know who John Maxwell is.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal speaker, phenomenal book writer. I used to be a minister. So I became certified John Maxwell coach and speaker. I wanted to write a book, and I wrote my first book. Getting Up is the Key to Life. And then I wanted to start the nonprofit. So I did all those things. That nonprofit now is 11 years, and we help people. Nowadays, we might be able to buy hand controls. They have a vehicle that they can get in and out of, but they don't have, $3,000 to put on a set of hand controls that should cost about $500 to put on the car. So I will pay for their hand controls so they could now be mobile, or buy them a 6-way turning seat for a van, or whatever they need. A lot of workout equipment, gym sets, bands, weights, whatever, all accessible for quads to use to get stronger. Because if you start working out, you're going to want to get out, and you're going to want to do more. I also collaborate with organizations throughout the U.S. I have a couple friends in Florida and the Keys that have an accessible boat. You can get any wheelchair on the boat. He is attached to lift on the side of it. So he takes you out. And if you want to go snorkeling or just swim in the ocean, get in your wheelchair to lift, he puts you right in the water. Or we'll take you out deep sea fishing. So I'll pay for those ventures. Last year, I paid for a couple hunting trips for veterans to go on with their sons. They didn't have $2,500 to go on a 4-day hunting trip. And the letters I get back and the pictures, man, just selfish. It's selfish because it makes me feel great to see. I know what that's like. I remember getting my first deer with my dad. I was in a wheelchair, and that man was in heaven watching me and hunting down my deer. I mean, we both won the like money doesn't buy those things.
Right. Yeah.
And Jonathan will probably tell you, if you don't have these good things to look back on, and not just Jonathan, but yourself, if you don't have these wins and victories and good things to look back on. It is hard to continue to overcome those tough times.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, those developing good memories, like you said, Brian, when rough times come, it's good to be able to reflect on that and be like, you know what? I've had bad times before those good times. This too shall pass. Yeah.
It's a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
It's another moment in time, but you need to create those memories. For dad to see his son go out there and hunt and do that father and son stuff again. I didn't help this kid out. I didn't buy him a crossbow, or I just didn't put up $2,000 so they could go sit in a beautiful lodge. You know what I created? Hope, joy, love, a memory that will help them get over the dark times, accessibility, freedom, the ability to dream about doing more. You can't put a price on those things.
Yeah.
It's not about the equipment. I'm trying to create hope, possibility, purpose. That's what we provide. You cannot buy that stuff, but I can help put them in a situation to hopefully get those things.
Yeah. There's a portion of scripture in the Bible that says my people perish for lack of vision. Sometimes it's interpreted knowledge. That knowledge could essentially be knowledge of what they could actually do if they trusted and believed that God would help them do it. And
yes.
So I call that vision casting. Everything that you just spoke about from the very beginning of seeding hope into a person's life to say, hey, how would you and your dad like to go hunting? And be like, what? Never dreamed that was even
You mean
possible.
I could go hunting? Like, you mean really hunting? Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I've got another friend who owns 40 acres, and he just said, set up a disability hunt next year for goose hunting if you want. He'll set up the blinds. And last night I spoke at a men's group, and just the fact that, and I asked them, to be honest, how many of these men did not have written goals? How many of them just are stuck because of fear is just amazing. Let alone and I touched on it. What about a vision board? Do you have a vision board? What I have a vision board. I have goals written. I have it may all sound contrite and a little whatever, but I'm telling, as I told them, if you do not write this stuff down, and it's been proven that people who write their goals, well, I talk about goals with my wife, but or I'll mention them, but if you write your goals down, you have like an 80% more chance of achieving them. Not because they're just written down, but part of writing them down is also telling somebody about them that can hopefully hold you a little bit accountable.
Yeah, sure. Well, people don't realize accountability is actually accessibility, because when you have somebody there who's able to, you're saying, tell me the truth, and they give you the truth, you can actually do something with the truth. You can't do anything when you're living a lie or you're living below the line, of what you're actually capable of. And I love your heart in this and the training that you've received. I'm absolutely sure that has had a huge influence on you and how you sow into and how your organization is able to actually provide so much for so many. And I know you would do, like you said, the more money you'd have, the more you do. I look at that the same way. To me, money is just ministry. Money is just opportunity for me.
Absolutely.
Can't take it with me. There's way too many people out there who need to have an encounter with truth, that starting with the truth of what they're capable of, regardless of their circumstances.
Yeah.
you know?
And you've got to really want it. And that means two things. Michael Jordan said it. They took, or he didn't say it. They interviewed some of Michael Jordan's coaches from his past, and they did interview Jordan. And they asked, what is the most valuable trait that Michael Jordan has? What do you think it would be?
Determination.
John, how about you?
Discipline.
He was coachable. Being coachable was Michael Jordan's best trait. That's from himself and coaches. The key to his success, and I'm trying to remember the coach that said that, is being 100% honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Most people are not honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And if you are honest with yourself and coachable, I don't know what your limits are. There are none. So, but I cannot give you coachable and honesty. That's got to come from you. If it comes from you, I will meet you halfway and help you and guide you, hold you accountable, bring some discipline. Nobody likes discipline, but as I have explained to my teams and my children, discipline is something you do for someone, not to someone. Everybody thinks discipline is something you're doing to them. And I've explained this 100 times. Discipline is something you do for someone, not to someone. And there's a big difference. And once you understand that difference, you start to look at discipline different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It's working with these guys as I did and having to speak into their lives and hold that line with them. And they thought I was a jackrabbit for doing things the way I did. But years later, they'd come back, they'd call me, and they would essentially, apologize or call to thank me for keeping my left foot up their right cheek, and just, they would realize in the long run, wow, that really was what I needed.
You were doing it for them, not to them. That's the bridge they're crossing.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of them came to us with a victim mentality,
Oh, of course. Of course.
All these things that happened to them. And I love how you spoke to this in regard to your situation, but it was for you because you're a force to be reckoned with now. God, you put yourself in God's hands. And the word says, nothing's impossible with God.
Right.
If you try to do all those things out of your own merit, your own capacity, God was using your dad, using your mom, using all the things that you had encountered up to the time that you broke your neck. And then, honestly, it changed your dad's life for better. Because he had to make a decision too. He continued to raise his son with excellence.
Yep. There was no, if you're going to do something, you might as well be the best at it. And the best compliments I get are probably from people that say, I don't even see you in a wheelchair. Like, I don't view you in a wheelchair. Like, how do you roll into a room and command that kind of, so many people, and Jonathan, you hear this, so many people are disrespectful to me. I get disrespected all the time. I don't think I've ever been disrespected. If I had, I guarantee it was once, and I corrected it because I won't tolerate it. I won't stand for it from anybody. I don't care how many initials you have after your name, before your name. I don't care how many digits you have in your bank account. You know what? Nobody disrespects me. You'll do it maybe once. I roll in the room, but I was brought up this way, going to work with my dad. You look a man in the eyes, you shake his hand. You walk in, from day one, he told me, you walk into a room like you own it. Like you own it. When I roll in somewhere, I get into so many, I rolled into VIP rooms I don't even have passes for. And they're like, you're going to get caught at the door. I go, I'm going to roll in that room and I'm going to act like I own it. I'm going to look right at the guy standing.
No.
I don't know what happened there. But I'm going to look right at the face, say hello, how you doing, and roll in the room. And you know what? I got to meet Terry Bradshaw. I got to meet, you know how many people I've met because I've just rolled in? Now, part of that is the wheelchair. Don't get me wrong. I'm taking advantage of the wheelchair bit. I
Yes,
know.
why not? Why not?
Use
I
Yeah.
it.
know.
Use
I know
it.
that. They don't know what they should do. Oh, what do I say to this guy? Because I'm going to say back to, I'm going to embarrass the shit out of them. They're going to let me in anyways. So,
Oh man, I love it. I love it. It's funny you're saying all this because Jonathan and I, we go back and forth, and the conversations are kind of funny in that he uses nomenclature like he says we're talking about his walk with Jesus, and I'm like, huh? You're in a wheelchair. It's like,
but you heard me talk about walking into a room. Like, I don't use the Jonathan. Do you? I mean, you still use the term. Like, if I walk in somewhere,
I use it all the time. I
like
mean, I'm like you. I don't picture myself in a wheelchair.
I'm walking
Yeah.
into a room. Like, I don't want to buy this. Well, or the discussion, John, you would see, Jonathan has seen them. Like, what's the correct term for somebody who's disabled? And there'll be people that have long discussions on this. And I'm like, what's your name? John? Well, or Bill? Well, the correct term for somebody in a wheelchair would be Bill, if that's his name. Like,
yeah.
what does it matter if they call you? I prefer GIMP in quad. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, you're getting upset over words. Listen, you're pissing into a tube and you're letting a word bother you. You go out and you shit your pants, at dinner. You're letting a word bother you. Like, that blows my mind. You got bigger things to worry about than words. Who gives a shit what people call you? I don't care.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You're talking about the vision board and goals, and I speak to identity, and that's really what I hear you speaking to as well. It's like, who are you? And who are they to say those things, and what value does that have at the end of the day? And one of the things I have written up on my whiteboard above the screen here is, uh, I belong to him. He owns me. That's my identity. So that's where I find my strength. That's where I find my peace. That's where I find my joy. Because at the end of the day, I know more about me than anybody else does, and I'm not all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
I'm more like Johnny Bag of Donuts, and when the donuts are gone,
I joke, and I'm like, I am just humble and lovable shoeshine boy. That's all I am.
You didn't have you didn't put that on the resume. You didn't put the shoeshine boy on the resume. Well, listen,
John, do you remember what cartoon that's from?
No.
There's no need to fear. Underdog.
Underdog is here.
Yes. Humble and lovable shoeshine boy. I am just a humble servant, humble and lovable shoeshine guy.
That's okay. Okay, so thank you, Underdog. A new nickname for you. That's awesome. Well, we're going to take and put all of the ways for folks to contact you, and we post this up on our YouTube channel. So
thank you.
You've got a ton of books out there as an accomplished author. I'm absolutely positive those are going to be a good read and worth the time and expense. I'd love to have you come back and talk more, especially if you have an event coming up or you have anything we could maybe tie in some of the people that are going to join you in an event. I'd love to talk more about SOAR and see if there's
I got a book launch coming up the beginning of May.
Great.
And
What's the book?
it's gonna be, the book is called, it's called Developing True Grit. I spent years gathering answers of 3 questions from thought leaders to professional athletes to writers, businessmen, John Doe, whoever. And I've put that into a book, and talk about how do you develop this grit mindset. And we need it more now than ever. And it's going to be a Zoom that is going to happen, and everybody's invited to it. So I will, it's probably not on what I got you, but I will get you the information on it.
Yeah,
it's going to be a Zoom, and I would love anybody and everybody who can to attend.
Yeah, fantastic. Your Breaking Barriers podcast, that's an ongoing. Is that something you're doing weekly or?
So we video twice a month, but then I get about 25 shorts that I put out every day. Every day there's about a minute short.
Yep.
Reel, and then 2 long ones a month.
Sweet. That's great. And then people can find you on LinkedIn for other services and opportunities to collaborate,
Absolutely.
Get coaching and such.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is so good. I told Jonathan early on before you came on that just looking at your resume, just seeing the things you've accomplished and how God has really, I think, woven the tapestry of integrity and character in you that is missing in men today, missing in families,
Oh, we could talk hours on that. Like another one of my, here's why I was successful in corporate, CIA. I live by CIA: commitment, integrity, attitude.
Yeah.
That's simple. I mean, and I'm not saying it's easy to do. I'm saying it is that simple. No. Commitment, integrity, and attitude, and you can win. And I was blessed to have been so successful in corporate. Below people's minds, how can a guy in a wheelchair be so successful? Well, you underestimated humble and lovable shine boy. And the big joke in my company was Swifty is, so if you did well enough, you won a President's Achievement Award. You went on a big trip. And the big joke was, is there going to be a ramp there, Swifty? What do you think this year? So people would be, because if I wasn't going to win, there was no ramp to the stage. Right. So people would tell me, Swifty, I heard they're putting up the stage over at the Hilton. Think there's going to be a ramp this year? And I was like, most of the time I was either like I knew I was, but there were probably 4 or 5 times where I was on the board or I wasn't sure. And then, a couple years that I knew I didn't. And oh boy, did I hate that, because the president said to me one time, he goes, Swifty, the best thing about you is your mouth. Swifty, the worst thing about you is your mouth. So he said, as long as you keep putting up numbers, I'm all good with you. So when I didn't have a good year, I had to be quiet as a church mouse. And trust me, that hurt, because I don't like being quiet. So I had to have good years.
Well, I don't think you've had a bad year. I just think you had years that you didn't meet your expectations. That God was probably working out a little more humility, a little more wisdom.
Yeah, and maybe somebody else needed it more than I did.
Come on.
So there's a lot of reasons, and that's okay. I've had my share, man, and I look back, and again, I'll say it. I've been blessed. Yeah. I've been blessed, and in life, especially as a man, speaking to what you talk about with men missing CIA.
Yeah.
You're either humble or you're about to be humbled.
Bam. You bet. That's the truth right there. Yeah, I heard it that if you don't seek humility, it'll find you.
Oh, it will. And that might have been, the years I didn't make it might have been, a little humbling, but that's okay. I needed it.
Yeah.
I might have needed it. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why a lot of things. I just accept that it was okay. And now what? Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be sitting. I'm not going to that damn place again without a ramp next year. There's no ramp on that. I'm turning around.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jonathan, anything you want to wrap up or bring to the table before we conclude today?
I just wanted to say, Brian, I look up to you, man. You are.
I'm not that tall. Don't.
You are a great mentor. more, sir. And
Thank
there's
you.
probably a lot of things that I can learn from you.
We can learn from each other because we
Yeah.
don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And I like having people like you gentlemen in my life. So let's stay there.
Sweet. Well, that's a great invitation. I'm going to tell you right now, you will be hearing from me.
Please.
You know,
If you ever have an event and need somebody to talk, if it's virtual, I don't know where you located physically.
Maine.
You liberals. No, I can't go up there.
I'm here as a disruptor. I'm just saying, okay?
I don't know if my van will go that far. No, but if you ever have a virtual event or want a speaker or want me to talk to somebody, please reach out. I'd be more than glad to.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I've got some ideas already percolating. So we'll connect. We'll have some more conversation. And yeah, I'm just grateful for today. It's been
Absolutely.
It's been an adventure, and and I love that you shared your family history. You know, I think we've lost family in America. We're a fatherless nation. We're a fatherless world. And I think not having fathers has been such a huge impact in where we're at and what our need is and what vision we need to cast for the future. And I think this is a great opportunity for people to hear. It's never perfect, but what was pure in the midst of what you grew up with was the intentionality and the devotion.
Yes.
And the clarity of conduct, and just, you know, when you spoke about having respect for your dad, and I thought about how we should have respect for God in the way that you had for your dad, so to speak, if that makes sense. Not to bring God down to the size of our...
No, but I know what you mean. And we don't, because nobody has a relationship. You know, people mistake going to church for having a relationship, or people mistake right. That's not a relationship. I mean, I went to church. I did my time. The big joke, you know, was, you know, seeing these kids walk in, they'd sit for 15 minutes. They grabbed them, as long as they went home with the missalette and could prove to their parents they were at church. You know, I mean, that doesn't, you got to have a relationship. When I was young, I didn't have a relationship. I understood. I said my prayers, but I didn't have a relationship.
Yeah.
I did after breaking my neck.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah. Don't go there.
No. We want people to have that relationship because they're coachable and want it.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand it all. And that's okay. As I tell my kids, so part of, and man, I hate to keep you, but part of my dad's thing was like, he would, as I've done with my kids, said, okay, I just want you to stand and listen. And when I'm done, I want you to turn around and just walk away. This is not a discussion. You may not agree. You may not like it. You may not understand it, but just trust me, you will in time understand it. And he would say what he had to say and walk away. And I do the same thing. I'm going to tell you this and then just turn and go, because I really don't want to hear anything. And man, now they're in their 20s and 30s. They're like, I understand it. Like, they all get it now. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to understand it or like it, but hear it, listen to it. Yeah. I'm not saying accept it even, but just let it be present, which we're missing today because of technology. Nobody's present. Just let it be present. Yeah. Let it bounce around in your life. And eventually that puzzle piece will fit in. That's all I ask my kids to do is they became teenagers. Just let it be present and let it bounce around in your head.
Yeah.
Don't worry about agreeing or disagreeing or liking. Just let it be.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well,
all right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure and an honor. Whatever I can do, keep me in mind.
You got it, brother.
So much, Brian.
Appreciate you.
You too, again, gentlemen.
We'll
see you. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay. Good deal. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today for the Unlimited Podcast. We hope our time together has inspired and encouraged you. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe on your YouTube channel, or go to theoutcastnetwork.org and register for this and many other opportunities to experience your unlimited upgrades.